Well, good afternoon. It is Monday. It is just past midday. I'm a couple of minutes late, for which I apologize. I was having way too much of a good time crunching all the numbers today. So, Monday, it means that it's Monday market update. And boy, has it been a busy week. So, let's get right into what we have to share today. And as usual, as soon as I want to do that, then of course, my presentation is hiding away somewhere. So hold on a second. I am just going to get that up and going. Okay, so, and I know it's here somewhere. There we go. I am getting it going. It certainly has been a week filled with news and excitement. And we want to make sure that we've got all the right information to share with you. And there it is. It was hiding from the beginning. Let's go. Okay, so this is Jennifer Tim with the Welcome Home Global Group, and we are passionate about making sure that you have the right information so that you can make the right decision for you. And very first thing that we're being bombarded with at the moment, oh, I know what's happening. I still have a timer set. So I am going to quickly stop that before we do anything else, as we definitely don't need a timer set for that. Let's just get that removed. No wonder it was going so fast this morning. It's like part of my day. Just really going quickly. Okay, now we're back to this again. All right, so Jennifer Tim, Welcome Home Global Group. Really want to make sure you've got the right information to make the right decisions for you and your family when it comes to your real estate. What are the top questions that we're being asked at the moment? Are we going into a recession? Boy, we're being bombarded with that in the popular media. And are home prices about to fall? That is the number one question that I'm getting from homeowners and potential buyers with big hopeful looks in their eyes, and sellers thinking, oh my gosh, everything's crashing down around us. So let's have a look at the data. There definitely was a lot that happened this past week. Quick reminder, these are the numbers that drive the US real estate, home sales, home prices, month supply of inventory, mortgage rates, and affordability. Today, we're going to spend quite a bit of time on what's happening nationally because of the big news that came out from the feds. So let's jump into that. Okay, quick market recap. This comes from one of my lending partners at CMG Home Loans. So we know mortgage application submissions increased this past week. Okay, and that was after hearing that mortgage applications were down. So that's a little bit of positive news. And of course, on my Zoom window is right in the way. Retail sales slipped a little bit. So that means that we're starting to kind of, as consumers, be a little more concerned with what is going on in the economy. The NAHB housing market sentiment. So this is kind of an important one to pay attention to. This is the home builders, and they're sort of saying that they're a little more hesitant about starting new construction. So we definitely keep an eye on that one, although the level is still above 50%. So not a major cause for concern, definitely something that needs to be tracked. The big news of the week was following the two-day Federal Open Market Committee June meeting. They voted to raise the benchmark interest rate by 75 basis points. So basically, now remember what we've discussed previously, the feds don't increase mortgage rates, but the market responds to the Fed rates as they get increased. So what did we see as a result of that? We definitely saw mortgage rates go above 6%. There were all sorts of headlines about 7%. I personally did not see any interest rates from my local lenders at that 7%. Doesn't mean that there weren't some around the country, because definitely each mortgage originator is going to respond a little differently to that. And we're going to have a further discussion about the interest rates. Jobless claims are up a little bit, And there we see the housing starts fell lower. All of these contribute to what we're seeing in the market at the moment. Okay. So, one of the things I did this week is I spent a little bit of time following all the experts that I follow and kind of going back to where we were. Because, we're so focused on what we're seeing right now. But what was housing doing before? Because all this acceleration has come as a result of COVID and then the reactions or lack of reactions to what happened during COVID. So let's have a look going all the way back to 1982. I'm not going to worry about the 1800s. It's enough that we worry about the 1900s. So if you have a look at this graph, what you can see for sure is that inventory has been dropping. So you can see we were kind of at this level. This seemed to be sort of that average. We had a spike when we had a recession, lots of homes foreclosures. We saw that 2008. So that's that, housing crash back then. But basically, since that recovery, our inventory has been declining ever since. Now, when I think back to 2019, and I've been in real estate for more than a second, there were conversations about the concerns about the lack of inventory in 2019. We were hearing and we were seeing interest rates were starting to rise, and that was an attempt to try and get that inventory to go back up again. So just know that the decline in inventory is something which has been trending anyway, and it's not a good thing. So let's look at that in a little more detail. So again, if we have a look since 2014, we're just on a total decline for inventory. Now, why is that so significant at the moment? Well, we have to look at where our demand is coming from and the future demand. And this one is a really, really important piece of information. We all know that those millennials that are changing all sorts of things for us, it's happening in real estate too. So I think this is a really interesting graphic, which, this is data that's been extrapolated from United States Census Bureau. Now, if we have a look, the big one here is our blue millennials over here. They are really starting to increase. Now, originally it was thought, no, millennials are not going to want to buy homes. They're not going to be a part of that sort of mindset. Well, guess what? They definitely are part of that mindset. I have two millennials in my own family, one of whom, the younger of the two, already owns her first home at the age of 26. The second one is looking. He is absolutely so. The older, the only reason why he hasn't purchased yet is because he's still getting his education, but that's very close. Touch wood, every piece of wood we can find. No, he will definitely achieve it. He and his significant other are actively looking and figuring out and positioning themselves right now to be homeowners as soon as they possibly can. They're just in a very expensive part of the country, so it's a little more challenging for them. And then also look at this demographic. I think this is a really, really important one as well. There are a lot of women who are now becoming single homeowners. They have the purchasing power as salaries and job opportunities for women have improved. Still got a way to go. They're definitely taking advantage of what they're earning and then putting that into home ownership. So this is a very, very important thing to realize. So we've got declining inventory, which was historical, and then just all this weirdness that happened with COVID. We've got this increasing demand of millennials, so age 28 to 34, the biggest age group ever, and they're the ones who truly are starting to buy. They're starting to look at that. They're starting to realize the value of investing in real estate for themselves as a personal wealth tool, and then also as investment properties. I actually know quite a few younger people in that price point who actually own multiple investment properties already. So that replacement market, that buyer pool is there, and they want homes to buy. And the problem is, they're up here ready to get a piece of the pie, and our inventory sitting down here. So we kind of have a total disconnect on where our future is going in the real estate industry. Home prices. This one is another really interesting perspective. So this is the S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index, which shows year over year where we're going and how fast home prices have increased. And definitely you can see here we were kind of on our, 2015 journey. Everything had stabilized. We're kind of going along. We actually had a little bit of a negative dip with home prices. Now, home prices. And then look what's happened since COVID. COVID kind of, and how everyone responded just totally threw everything off. Because what happened? Most home sellers who were considering selling their homes during COVID didn't. They chose to reinvest so much equity in their homes, no need to sell, because a lot of people return to that income environment, so their jobs a lot faster than maybe others had expected, or the doom and gloom we heard out there. So much inventory just kind of vanished. It just didn't exist. What we kind of should have seen as just that regular inventory then became even less. So the lack of inventory just became more and more of a negative situation. And as a result, this is this huge increase in home prices that we've seen. Again, crazy situation to be in. So here you've got your millennial buyers and our replacement buyers ready to snap up those homes. They're sitting here, those prices are just going up and up and up. And what happens? Inventory just gets even lower, and the demand is still there. That demand still exists. It hasn't gone away. Okay. So are prices going to crash? There's no indication right now, because even though we've had a slight decrease in demand, as we just saw the report from today from our lenders, those mortgage applications are slowly inching up. People are adjusting to the news of what's happening in the market, realizing that the interest rates aren't as bad if you look at it historically over time as that initial knee-jerk reaction. So there isn't a weakness in the demand, because true weakness and enough to really change anything, because our inventory is too low. That lack of inventory is driving everything. Another one that we kept hearing, foreclosures, COVID, everybody's lost their jobs. Not happening. Look at where we are sitting. So if we just have a look at this one, the dark blue is foreclosures, the red is bankruptcies. We are now comparing Q1 back to 2003. So we are now sitting in 2022, Q1, and I mean, this is national. So, think about all that doom and gloom that we heard about foreclosures. Look at how small that percentage is. That is not a source of new inventory in our market, because there are a lot of buyers out there thinking, I'm going to take advantage when these short sales, foreclosures happen. There just aren't enough of them to really make a difference across the real estate landscape in the USA. Not a reality. Let's have a look at who is actually getting mortgages, and a little bit of, again, historic perspective of where we were and where we are today. So this over here, these different colors represent those credit scores. So here's our, the 760 is the light blue, the 720 to 759 is the dark gray, 660 to 719 is the light gray, the kind of gold color is 620 to 659, and then this really dark kind of dark teal blue color is less than 620. Most of our mortgages that have been issued in the last couple of years have been to people with very strong credit scores. They have earning potential, they have good credit, they know how to manage their money, they are not in financial difficulty, as opposed to what we saw back in the last sort of housing crash, big recession that everyone talks to. And of course, my Zoom window is always in the way. I apologize. That was the problem back then. We had a lot more people at that point in history who really should never have been issued a loan because they did not have the ability to repay their loans. I mean, look at this dark blue color here. These are our less than 620 credit scores. So the changes that were made to the lending industry corrected the situation that resulted in that crash the last time. We're not seeing that. We're seeing that mortgages are going to people who truly can afford to actually apply for one and repay a mortgage, which of course is the most important thing to lenders who are lending money. So solid people who are currently in the homes repaying those mortgages. There is no need for them to be selling off a loan, selling off a home less than market value. So now let's have a look at this monthly supply of data. Declining inventory. And we know that when you have less inventory, it's just supply and demand, simple laws. People are going to want to pay or be willing or be forced to pay more because of the scarcity. So we are currently, according to the National Association of Realtors, we are sitting at about 2.2 months of inventory across the nation. And this is very much a national picture if we look at it across all of the cities and definitely even here in Southern California. Now, some of the experts, they say we really need to get to at least a minimum of 4 months worth of inventory for any changes to be seen. And kind of traditionally, we've always said 6 months of inventory is a little closer to that balanced market where it's the best situation for buyers and sellers. So what needs to happen for us to get to that point? Well, you know, this kind of number here, we've got to get more people to sell their homes. I mean, we started out, think of this, in the entire United States, at the beginning of the year, 870,000 homes across the nation were on the market. And traditionally, we should be sitting at between 2 and 2.5 million homes so that buyers have choices. There's healthy competition between sellers and everyone wins at the end of the day. So let's have a quick look at affordability. That's that other factor which is definitely influencing. We've looked at interest rates, we've looked at inventory, we've looked at month supply, and now let's look at affordability, which is home prices, household incomes, and prevailing mortgage rate. We've kind of looked at some of those already. This is an important one. So this report comes from Black Knight, and it shows how much of people's income they're having to pay for mortgages. This comes into how much money do you have every month that you can afford to pay for your housing options. Salaries have not kept up with what's happening with the mortgage rates, basically, and how much you're going to have to pay for the home that you want. So something has to give. Either it's you have to buy less of a home, or you've got to find the opportunity to earn more. But that's really important number to keep an eye on, is to make sure that we're watching this blue line here, which is sitting pretty high at the moment. I mean, here's our response to the interest rates, but you can see it's 34% that most people are having to pay of their monthly income in order to repay a mortgage, which comes down to nuts and bolts. I really like this. Stephen Thomas, Reports on Housing, produced this for us last Thursday, and this really puts it into real terms that we can relate to. $4,000 a month. Now, again, buyers, figure out what budget you have. How much are you physically able to pay every single month? So say you had a budget of $4,000 a month. Beginning of the year, we were sitting at the 3.2%, over $1 million. You could have looked at a home over $1 million. Now we're sitting kind of around this interest rate, and we'll have a little discussion about the interest rates and kind of what we're seeing here in Orange County in just a couple of minutes. So 5.5%, which was like last week, you could afford to look at a home in the 782,000 odd range. Now that's already gone down $41,000. So that makes a huge difference. So again, I wish we had a lot of homes in the cities that we cover in their price range. We just don't. The prices have gone so high that you're looking at having to pay a lot more money for that type of home here in coastal Orange County. So let's have a look at a payment on a $1 million home, 10% down. And again, at the beginning of the year, your 3.25% would have meant you were paying $3,917 a month on a mortgage. Well, now when we're sitting up in this 6% range, that's $5,396 a month. That's a big difference from the 39. Now we're sitting at the 5,300 and could potentially be going up higher. This reason, this one down at the bottom, is a big reason why home sellers right now are kind of saying, but I refinanced. I'm sitting in this little zone right now because I took advantage of those low interest rates. If I sell and want to buy here in Orange County, I'm going to be in this range. So I don't really want to move. We did that. We refinanced. Our interest rate is super low. And we look at that every single month. Could we sell our house in a heartbeat? Absolutely. We're in a nice little coastal environment, a good price point. We're walking distance to the beach. But where would we go? How much more would we have to pay? Okay, so definitely something to think about. And that helps explain why there are fewer sellers willing to kind of enter the market, because it's where do we go next and how much more will that cost me? All right, so let's kind of look a little deeper into SoCal. So here there's interest rates. So this is from another lender partner. This was an email. We get one every Friday. It gives us an idea of what the interest rates are for that time period. So that's why they call it the weekend interest rate. So this is for this just past weekend that we've all enjoyed. And what are we seeing? So what did we hear in that very first national report? When the feds increased the rate, the mortgage rates, so the market responded, mortgage rates shot up over 6%. And then a lot of them have kind of come down a little bit. And that is what we're seeing here. Now, something else that I want to point out. Now, we're very, very in love with our fixed interest rates, but there are some other alternatives. So if you are a buyer, please make sure that you are partnered with an amazing loan officer, because maybe a 30-year fix is not the type of loan product that is the best for you right now. What we are seeing is adjustable rate mortgages are gaining in popularity because a lot of homeowners understand that real estate is very cyclical. We're kind of on this weird little ride at the moment, and predictions are, as it always has in the past, that those interest rates will be adjusted down a little more favorably. Of course, we never know when. So if you have the ability to ride out what is happening, maybe an adjustable rate mortgage, which has a lower initial set rate, is a better option for you. And then you have that option of refinancing, or maybe you're not going to be in the home for 10, 20 years. And you're okay because you know that in 5 years' time, you're going to sell that home. And maybe the terms of that ARM, the adjustable rate mortgage, is actually a better loan product for you. That is why it is essential to be partnered with the right loan officer, who can totally explain to you what the benefits of the various loan options are so that you can make the right decision for you. So anyway, back to our kind of interest rates. They're not as bad as what you've heard and what you've seen. Where are they going? Gosh, I wish that everybody had a crystal ball and we could tell you exactly. Well, we don't. There's so much happening in the world. We're just monitoring and watching. And again, it's just giving you the information of where we are today. So inventory in Southern California, absolutely. As our rates, which is indicated here, as they continue or are expected to continue, we will definitely see an increase in inventory. We've seen it already, and we do expect that trend to continue. There's our comparison with 2013, where we saw increasing interest rates, not quite as dramatic as what we're seeing now, but we definitely see that the inventory is increasing. That is good news. This is all by design. This is why the Feds increased the rate, because they knew mortgage rates would have to follow. We would stop this crazy, explosive home selling episode that we've been in. It would cool that down a little bit and produce the increase in inventory, which we've needed to address since 2014, everyone, since 2014. Now is the time that they're actually addressing it. So our demand year over year, it has gone down slightly. And again, part of that is because we're entering this time of the year, because we always peak early in spring, and then we hit summer. Summer begins this week. Families don't want to relocate once they start thinking about going back to school. They want to be there already. So we're seeing that demand decreasing naturally, and then also at an accelerated rate because the interest rates have gone up. By design, normal, natural, nothing to be alarmed about. So going to this one, so what are we seeing as far as our inventory? Then this slide was last week, Thursday, from Reports on Housing. So we can see that we're seeing that slight increase. So that gives you just that historic perspective. Active inventory listing year over year. This kind of shows you where we expect to be. 2019 is when we were already having serious conversations about the lack of inventory in Southern California and across the nation. And this is, we're hoping that with the trends that we're seeing, that the inventory is going to increase. Because remember, we've got those millennials out there ready to bite into their pie, their slice of the pie of home ownership, and they want that inventory. We're definitely going to increase. Are we going to be where we want to be? Maybe not. Market time year over year. So this is from the date that you list your home to the date that it goes into escrow. So an offer is accepted and you're exchanging your earnest money deposit. Orange County has gone from 20 days at the beginning of the year now to 48 days. So remember, to get into a balanced market, we would have to be 60 to 90 days on market. This is still a seller's market. It's going to take a lot more days on market before we ever get to that balanced market, let alone a slight buyer's market. So slight buyer's market is going to be that 140 to 150 days as a reminder. And here's your comparison with other counties. All right, so as I mentioned last week, we're going to start diving a little deeper into the 4 cities that the Welcome Home Global Group really specializes in. We've just started with this little snapshot, and we're building out the data that we're going to be sharing with you every week. So I've pulled this information this morning. Current actives that's actively on the market: Dana Point, 78, Laguna Beach, 88 properties, San Clemente, 115, San Juan Capistrano, 60. The demand shows how many of these properties went into, some kind of under escrow status in the past 30-day period. So Dana Point, we've got Laguna Beach, 15 of them. Laguna Beach is a higher price point. It takes a little bit there aren't as many of them because the buyer pool is smaller. San Clemente and then San Juan Capistrano, and there's your market time. We're sitting below the Orange County average. Very important to realize, because what is important about, well, not important, maybe attractive to buyers about these four cities, a lot of these homes have ocean views, close to the ocean. It's all about the lifestyle and what people are looking for. The medium active list prices, again, really important, and we'll be tracking them, and we'll show you some historic data every week as well as we start compiling and building our data sets for these cities. So Dana Point, your average list price, 2.2 million, Laguna Beach, 3.9, San Clemente, 1.7, San Juan Capistrano, 1.8. So again, buyer pools, if you think about those interest rates, mortgages, that buyer pool that was sitting and beating down the door, especially in Dana Point, San Clemente, and San Juan Capistrano, that buyer pool has shrunk. Does it mean that all the buyers have gone away? Absolutely not. We're talking about luxury price points in these. Remember, this is median prices, so there's some a lot higher. There's a couple that are a lot lower than this. The higher you go, the less chance that somebody requires a mortgage in order to purchase the property. They may leverage a mortgage, but they're not confined by the absolute requirement to have one. So we're still going to see the demand. We're still going to see properties going into escrow. The biggest issue is this column, that unless sellers are willing to sell and enter into this market, this whole chain reaction just basically comes to a standstill. So sellers, what do we need to keep in line? So we're going to get to our bottom line. Sellers, you need to price ahead of the market. Utilize the services of an expert in the real estate field. So someone like myself, I am a data nerd. I track the numbers all the time. I'm listening to the experts who are looking at the national level. I'm looking at the California stats. I'm looking in Orange County and our surrounding counties. And we are able to really help you understand what is happening to the real estate on your street, in your little neighborhood, in the city that you're in. You've got to know what's happening with the market right now, right in your neighborhood, so that we can truly help you understand what the market is supporting. Then when it comes to pricing, gone are the days when you could throw in that little bit of buffer. Sellers, we all like to think about, well, we think we know we're probably going to have people who want to bargain and they want to negotiate down. So we'll add that buffer. The time and the days of doing that are over for now. It's all going to be about condition and location. Know the data, truly understand what condition your home is in, based on what the market is telling you buyers are willing to pay for. They are definitely gaining some bargaining power. We're starting to see a couple of things coming in to the contracts that are coming through. Location. If you have a property that backs up to a busy road, or you have power lines that cross over. Many of our older coastal towns, we don't have underground utility lines. They're all above us. Well, not every buyer wants that, and your home price needs to reflect that. Buyers know what's out there. They have hired agents, and their agents are making sure they're informed about how much everything costs in their area. Know that the days on market stacking up is the kiss of death to achieving a top sales price. We're back to those days again. You cannot go above what the market is really supporting unless you're willing to compromise down the road. Because again, what is the first thing that buyers are going to say, especially after being in our insane market where you could barely put a sign in the yard and we had 30 offers? Buyers know that. They've lost out on properties. They know that that's what it's like. It's going to take a little while for them to kind of be retrained to know that there's a little more time, not a tremendous amount of time, before they have to, jump in the car and rush through a house and throw papers at a seller. But when buyers see that a property sat on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, more, what is the first thing they're going to think? red flag, there's something wrong with this property. And then what are they going to do? Where they may have been willing to submit at a list price offer or above list price, they're going to go low and they're going to negotiate and expect to get even more during that process. So sellers, it's time to get realistic, understand the consequences of pricing your properties where you decide to put them. It's your decision. Your agent is going to do what you desire, but choose a good agent who can advise you to know whether you're going for discount pricing or you're going for truly market or you're going for that high retail pricing. It all has a consequence. Buyers, stick to your budget. You've got to run the numbers. You've got to truly understand how much that you can afford in today's market. Be aware if you do need a mortgage, what the various packages are. Again, make sure that you're partnering with the right lender. If you have hired a good real estate consultant, they will have the best of the best in their pocket that they can refer you to. Your choice as to who you use, but choose carefully. They are not all made equal. Understand the market. Again, you need to be paying attention to exactly what the market is supporting. That's going to give you leverage. Understand how much people are willing to pay, how much certain upgrades cost, so that you can make a decision. Are you okay with going with a little more of a fixer-upper because that amazing kitchen that you thought was going to cost $200,000, maybe it's only going to cost you $60,000, and you're okay living with the existing kitchen for a couple of months until you can get into that, build up some equity, and then you can make those changes yourself. Have a strategy. Again, buying on a whim when you're buying a home is never really a good strategy. So have somebody, a consultant, a real estate consultant, like those of us at the Welcome Home Global Group, who can really sit down with you, find out from you what your needs, desires truly are, and then we can help you with the strategy to help you achieve that. And sometimes the reality is that maybe this is not the right time for you to be entering the market, or maybe purchasing a home in this particular environment along our coastal cities in Orange County, maybe that's not your best first step. Maybe it's better to get into real estate in a more inland market where prices are more favorable to your budget, and you use that as a stepping stone. It's okay. The whole thing is getting into the process rather than being on the outside. And I know of many people in their 60s who have major regrets because they never, ever got into the real estate market and they haven't been able to take advantage over time. So back to our first two questions. Are we going into a recession? Economists are really closely monitoring the system. For some of them, there's a couple of red flags that have been raised, but I haven't heard from anyone yet that I follow that all the flags have gone up. So it's definitely being monitored very closely. Are home prices about to fall? Is the whole housing market about to crash? Number one, we don't have enough inventory for that to happen at this point in time. Truly, we would need to get above 4 months worth of supply for duration, not just a funny little blip, and then we're back to having no inventory again. It would have to be consistently over 4 months and above for us to start seeing something happen. Second, we've got to have just the total US inventory has to go up above these thresholds. Right now, we're just not seeing that. So are we going to see list prices come down? So I'm going to answer that anecdotally, and I have got slides from previous presentations that we've done. 30% in a normal-ish market, which means a seller's market here in Southern California, we normally see about 30% of the homes experience at least one price reduction in the time that they're on the market. The crazy, insane, out of control seller's market we've been in, there was no time for any price reduction because there were way too many offers. Everything went into escrow within minutes, it felt like. So we didn't see those price reductions. Now that properties are kind of adjusting to the market, those list prices, if the properties have not been listed according to those criteria that we set, that they truly according to the market, and it's based on condition and location, if they are overpriced, as we call them, yes, you're going to see list prices come down. Are we going to see values decline? So there's a difference between list prices and values. Everything that we're seeing still is that we will still see values of homes appreciate in our area. Will it be at that 20+% we saw in 2020? Absolutely not. Not sustainable. Nothing that we ever wanted to see continue. Is it going to be more realistically around the sort of 4 to 5%? Some people are even saying 6 to 8%. I think it's kind of going to be somewhere between that. So we'll be conservative there. Yes. Everyone is still saying that values are going to increase. Is real estate still a good way to grow your money and build wealth? Yes, but speak to your financial advisor on that one. So, recession? Not sure. Home prices about to fall? Not right now. So that's great news. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat or reach out to us. We would be so honored to sit down with you and draw pictures, help you understand the data in your neighborhood. I love the actual numbers. Other people prefer graphs and things. We totally understand that. We're right there to meet you where you are, to help you understand what's happening with your home, in your neighborhood, and in your city. And honestly, we can pull data from just about anywhere across the United States, and definitely a lot more data here in California. We're also, I'm licensed in Texas, and I can help you in the Central Texas area. So if you've got any questions, please reach out. Remember, we're here to help you understand the real data, the real story about what's happening, so you can make informed decisions for you and your family. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you back here next Monday.